And even just with the Mirana, we saw it in that game number 2. Once he's level 15, that plus 20 evasion, forcing 2 MKBs to come out on the cores of Nigma Galaxy, when, in my opinion, it could have been perhaps some other items that would have given him a little bit more of that effectiveness. But we're seeing a Shadow Demon Luna combination. I mean, it's tale as old as time, really, coming through here just to assist with that push coming forward. And, well, the concern for me still is that you can kind of just run away from this Nigma Galaxy lineup, right? Like, you've got Leap to be able to do so. You've got, of course, Remnants on the Ember Spirit. So as long as you're not getting caught out by that initial stun, if your sentry coverage is good, you're able to use that Moonlight Shadow when you're ever, making an aggressive movement towards a team fight, then you shouldn't get that free setup, and you should be able to, just disengage whenever Nigma Galaxy try and run at you, or Luna just tries to stand and fight.
We'll see what's able to power Nigma Galaxy into this game 3 and Polaris as well. I mean, if they've got the stocks of the Mate too, our beautiful partner, the natural energy drink, which is caffeine reimagined, this could potentially be that X factor for them, like it's the X factor for us. It's boosting us through this series, potentially boosting us through our next series as well, which is going to be exciting. But you guys can head over to bts.gg/mate and enter the code BTSDota to get 10% off. Danog, how are we feeling about this last phase? What are we looking for from either side? Is there anything really standing out that they need?
They do need tower push on Polaris, right? Like, I was a little bit worried in that game number 2, but it was just Nigma Galaxy getting caught out one by one, which meant that they could just have this gradual push up onto the high ground, as opposed to just having someone there standing there and fighting. So what are they going to look? I mean, again, they don't have anyone that's going to dive super deep, and they've also banned out themselves the ones that are going to dive deep as well. So something like a Drow isn't the worst, to be perfectly honest, to be able to deal with all of this.
For Polaris?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like a Drow a lot. I think it looks really good with having a Titan and Ember who can kind of get into the middle, and Nigma Galaxy are really going to lack ways to get on Natsumi's hero.
For sure. Even just having a couple of agility heroes as well in the Mirana and the Ember Spirit that are going to benefit from that marksmanship.
You might be a little bit worried about going for a Drow just because if it's a Lion Drow lane, it's a lot of poke from afar. You're still not seeing the position 3 from Nigma Galaxy. You banned out the DK, you banned out the Darkseer. They definitely need ways to start fights. Like, you're very lacking some form of initiation and just to help enable the Luna and the Leshrac, because these are heroes that need to be in the middle of the fight.
What is Mizu going to play? That's what I'm keen to see here. Go the Wraith King instead. Okay, I mean, it's all right, but I mean, it's one of those heroes that if a Leshrac kills you once, you can very easily kill him again. It's not like you've spent your entire, what do we like to call it, resources to be able to take out this Wraith King the first time. And as long as you got some mana, you're going to be able to continue the push forward. And Nyx and Shadow Demon, 2 heroes that love to build those arcane boots. So at least in these first few team fights before they get disassembled for like an Aether Lens, it's going to be real nice.
Do Legion? Like, the Dispel is really nice. They've got a crap load of stuns, which is maybe like how much is a pressy attack going to come into favor. But I think always against someone like a Mirana it's a big factor. Even the Luna too, who really utilizes the save.
Even just against the Tidehunter, right? At the moment, they have nothing that's going to, outside of the Leshrac, nothing that's going to just consistently be doing damage to the Tidehunter. So a lot of the big counters to the Tide that we've seen are things that just completely lock him down that he just cannot get out of. Things like the Disruptor, for example. But they're going to go Brewmaster instead. Don't hate it, and clearly it is a Mizu comfort. I was kind of thinking that maybe they would look to pair the Shadow Demon together with it, just because Shadow Demon plus Brewmaster, the Shadow Poison's a really easy way to proc that Cinder Brew even from afar. But well, not going to be the case. It's going to be Shadow Demon paired together with the Luna, and Nyx Assassin coming alongside the Brewmaster. How do you feel about this one? I want you to put your cards on the table this time around.
Classic. When it's all on the line, game 3, it's always on me. Okay. Well, I think, like you said, comfort for Mizu on the Brewmaster, definitely one of his more favorable heroes. I think it looks like a really good pick this game too. Against the Ember, just for the Dispel is really nice. Whether you want to throw up the Wraith King, maybe the Tidehunter, I think Brew's always a little bit vulnerable into any instant stun, and you have that with the Lion, and then you've got plenty of stun lock and burst afterwards. So it's going to have to now come back onto the, you know, the backs of the supports in Shadow Demon to really keep him alive and get that ultimate off. I think I'm going to favor Polaris. I think they've got a lot easier ways to take these fights in regards to stuns. Sorry, continue.
I do like Polaris's draft a lot. And I'm just thinking about how Nigma.SEA are going to be able to take a lot of these engagements. You know, I feel like it just needs to be Alacrity just putting his body up there on the front lines. Like, ideal scenario is they get a pick off because Jokam's been able to find someone, right? And if it's Ember Spirit, that's probably the ideal scenario. So it's going to be up to Lelouch to make sure he's avoiding that situation. But outside of that, I mean, like you mentioned, the Brewmaster, he is very vulnerable to getting chain stunned by all of this lockdown that Polaris has. At least with Alacrity, you're going to be able to have that Diabolic Edict ticking. You're going to maybe have a Pulse Nova going, and then Paulson's going to be in place to be able to save you. So at least you're still doing something in a team fight and allowing the Brewmaster to, of course, get in with his ultimate and disrupt the chain stuns that are going to come after the Shadow Demon save. But I'm feeling like I'm doing a lot of this needs to happen, then this, whereas Polaris, it seems like a much easier draft to execute. So I'm going to go with them as well.
All right, we got 2 on board here for Polaris. We're both even in regards to our little betting map count thing that we got going on, but for both these teams remaining undefeated at the moment, going the distance, again, this is exactly what we were looking for. To kick us off tonight, we got some incredible series, 2 in fact, on Division 1, which will be starting later on. The Fnatic versus Execration. It'll be followed after this series, so that will not start until we've got these 2 teams done and dusted. And again, what a way to kick the night off. Game 3, goal in the distance, and it definitely feels like Polaris. I think we're both giving them a little bit of the edge here after this draft.
Yeah, I would agree so. Don't think this is going to be one of those instances where you're behind 15k after 20, 25 minutes. They're even going for this big old wraparound. They got some pretty solid level 1. I mean, on both teams, to be perfectly honest, but they're both looking to play around each other quite efficiently.
So what do we feel like are the... what's kind of the X factor here for Nigma.SEA in regards to the lanes? Because we were kind of saying the Nyx and the Brew might be a little bit awkward together. You wanted the Shadow Demon and the Brew. So is Luna Shadow Demon going to be a winning lane, or maybe the Lesh versus the Ember?
I'm not necessarily focusing in on how the lane is going to go, but more about how you're going to make plays after the laning stage. Okay. And for me, for Nigma.SEA, Alacrity feels like all you've got, really, right? Because Brewmaster can't do anything really until you pop your ultimate, and you probably don't want to be, you know, doing that just willy-nilly. Whereas on Polaris, it feels like they've got plenty of ways to set up for stuff. You know, the Wraith King plus a stun combination can be anyone, is obviously going to be very effective. And then, of course, you've got that great roaming potential coming through from a Mirana, and even just a level 1 Searing Chains.
Yep. I think that's the really nice thing with the Mirana this game. We saw how well Xavius could play with this hero in the second game. And now it's just going to be that much easier with how they've kind of enabled this pick with all the stuns. I mean, Wraith King Lion, multiple ways to set up down bottom. You got top as well. You know, Gush, just really nice kind of man-fighting capability with the help of Xavier. So I think for Polaris, at least the side lanes are looking really strong. Mid's just that one question mark.
Yeah, I mean, Alacrity needs to heavily win this lane like he did in game number 2 for them to have a chance, because again, he is all of their playmaking potential, at least for the first 15, 20 minutes.
And we have seen him play exceptionally well in this series. Like game 1, his TA was on point. Game 2, he was looking really good as well for quite some time until the PL and the rest of Polaris were some big issues. So you know, we've seen they have enabled the Lesh rack in regards bottom. And Mavis needs some help. Natsumi just swinging on over with the Wraith Fire Blast is not enough to keep Mavis alive, and it's going to be Yokam in the Mizu lane to find first blood.
I'm just out of place very slightly. I mean, it meant that Cinder Brew was able to be tossed out. Nice stun coming out from Yokam as well. And yeah, I mean, at least it was only the Nyx that ended up claiming it. Not going over to Mizu, which means that he's not going to get that super early Urn of Shadows.
Do see how much damage they can do on Mizu just with 2 stuns. Pretty much 3/4 of his health pool just taken care of. He's got a Selv. Yokam has a Selv as well. So a lot of resources left here with Mizu in this lane, but he's got some pretty good creep equilibrium as well. Lane completely shoved out, and they don't have the small camp to play with, so it's going to have to be off the back of the hard.
Mavis is going to try and pull this one here. It looks like he's actually going to get it blocked up by Yokam. Even just not able to skate with that one as well. Force just keeps spamming that one. Yeah. And to be fair, it's been pretty accurate for the first 15 or so minutes of the past few games that we've been watching.
Do you like that they've given him the Tide Hunter again? We've seen, I think, game 1, game 2, the Aegis snatches to maybe give them a whiff of hope to come back into those games, and the Ravagers as well have been pretty solid from Force. Do you feel like they've maybe answered it well enough to let it slide, or should they have just gotten rid of it?
I don't think they've answered it well enough. Again, they're lacking these heroes like the Legion Commander and the Disruptor that are just able to actually completely lock you down with not taking the Kraken Shell into account. So I feel like, again, it's just so much more emphasis on Alacrity to be the one that actually is able to, take this big body out of a team fight.
Ava's going to end up getting dropped down bottom. I am really surprised at how this lane is faring at the moment from Nigma.SEA. I mean, they're trading blow for blow. They're falling really low, but they are still getting the kills.
Yeah, for sure. And Mizu, he's even got that urn before that kill, so he's able to lay down the first charge onto Natsumi. You want to generally keep the second one available just because, of course, if you're able to get a kill with it, you get refreshed back up to the 2 charges. But, I mean, why not? Of course, a Wraith King is very good in the laning stage just because you're going to be able to have that lifesteal coming through, but you want to be using as much resources to cause them to go into buying more regen to make sure he's able to get that to that self-sustainable stage. How's the stack game going? Of course, Leshrac, one of those heroes that's very capable of building up a few of them. I can just see the one so far that the Shadow Demon's been able to build inside of his own jungle. Obviously not the best at taking Ancients, although you've got a Luna for that.
Yeah, it looks like it's Radiant that have stacked a little bit by the triangle with Xavius and the Mirana. It's done a really good job at just playing away from Force. Looks like he's pretty confident at the moment in this lane. In Your Dream has only got 1 point in the beam, but he's also getting a lot out of this. So how are we expecting In Your Dream to fare overall this game, considering how much he's getting through the lane?
I think he's getting an okay amount. Some of it has come from the small camp, though, as opposed to actual lane creeps. Like, he's going to get this full wave for himself right now, but he is still sitting a little bit behind the rest of the cores in the game. So I think it's going to be on the back of, again, like what happened in game number 2 to give them that big lead. If they're able to scout out the fact that these stacks are starting to be built up inside the Radiant Triangle, if they can take them away with the likes of a Lesh and a Luna, big bonus for Nigma.SEA because they don't have the greatest heroes to take it so far. I mean, it's basically going to be Force only that can do it. Wraith King hates seeing that Ancient Camp stacked because he just can't take it super early on.
I like this move from the Mirana, though. We've already seen Xavius be on his feet, just really leaving top and giving that lane to Force, but at the catapult timing, great awareness. Just looking to make a small movement over to mid, get rid of the catapult, and really just prevent any poke and prod they could have gone. And I think we have to keep tabs on that in the next 5 minutes when the second catapult's going to come through, because this is always when Nigma.SEA are going to look to get aggressive and try and open up the map.
A little bit unlucky there by Alacrity. The rune ended up spawning on the top side, so wasn't able to grab the illusion. Would have been great if you're coming up against this Ember Spirit. Doesn't have a point in the chains just yet, but Xavius hasn't exactly gone for that kill at this point. Level 8, just the single point, and it'll be real value. But In Your Dream, he's continuing to farm. I said he wasn't doing the best to be able to start out that, but he's doing all right just now as he looks to, pull this lane behind his tier 1 tower. Be a little bit safer with a lot of the farm that he's been able to pick up.
First use of Mizu's ultimate, and still Natsumi, he's lacking his own level 6, but they've got the extra reinforcement coming from Xavius. They're trying to kill off the creeps to find his 6, but they're not fast enough, as they'll get a huge kill on Natsumi, and now they can look to transition this into a secondary pickoff as well, as Mavis drops to the burn on Mizu, and they're not done just yet. Xavius, he's still got some leap charges to play with, but oh my, Mizu's comfort in the Brewmaster is coming in huge here in this game.
Sure. I mean, the Mirana was there just to try and maybe bait out one of those earn charges, but not needed. Mizu able to get so much done with it super early on, and if he wants to, he could start building into that Aghanim Scepter. He's already got enough for one component. Not a point booster, but you know what I mean. But yeah, again, like, just have a look at In Your Dream. I feel like something's off there. He had more net worth than that. Has he just dropped something on the ground? Maybe the mask hasn't been delivered to him yet, and it's counting that for whatever reason as not his net worth.
Yeah, maybe because he's...
mask.
Has to be. I mean, there's no way he's that poor. He's been doing well.
He had more. He had more than that. Like, he was level with, you know, the Tide and the Ember Spirit. And
this game, Radiant do have strong ways to infiltrate through the jungle and scout out when In Your Dream is taking these stacks, because he's definitely going to posture on the backside and just really put alacrity as the playmaker and the tempo controller with the Leshrac and with the help of the Shadow Demon. So, we'll see Polaris, how aggressive they want to get. Early blinks potentially picked up. I mean, it is a line as your position 5, so Mavis is not going to have too much net worth, but Force is having a relatively good time. We've seen, I think, both games now he's gone for the blink after the hood, so if he can find this at a decent timing, that can really enable Polaris to get aggressive and bring In Your Dream down.
I have to wonder this game with how they're going to go with their targets for the Demonic Purge. I feel like early on, it's probably still going to be the Ember Spirit, just because, as we've mentioned, it means you can't get that Flame Guard off. It's, a good amount of damage as well that you're able to deal eventually to it. It slows down a lot of the Ember Spirit's effect in a lot of these engagements. But later on, as soon as that Wraith King picks up the BKB, you've got to change your priority. You've got to switch it over onto him to make sure that he's not able to run around these team fights and do what he needs to do, which is try and man fight against the likes of this Leshrac and the Luna. You can definitely put it onto the back of Mizu, maybe, to use the Primal Split to remove Natsumi from a lot of these team fights early on, just with the Wind Panda.
I can't stress how huge this is with how well bottom lane's gone, because I was really worried that Nyx was going to be pretty under-leveled. I mean, he's already level 5 at 8 minutes in, so they're going to have Vendetta to be able to make plays with early, with Alacrity, who might just get a kill. My god, Lulu. Oh, well, he's chilling. You love to see it. A good old regen up to the top side of the map. Lelouch is loving life. Think you got me? No chance. I'm still fighting shape. But
that's actually so tilt worth. You do all of that, and then it just still doesn't work out for you.
Dire's top tower.
They're gonna try and run into In Your Dream, who's gone the long way around, and again, Spidey sense is tingling for the position 1 on Nigma.SEA. Maybe they're not tingling enough. He's chilling.
No, they saw the movement around because they've got this nice observer ward on the cliff there, and they just placed the observer as well. So they're going to get a nice little bit of gold experience bounty from that as the push continues onto the bottom side. And I'm just trying to be annoying right now. He's got the 1 point in the mana burn, so why not just consistently lay that into Natsumi?
Looks like it will be a trade. Radiant, they're going to find the tier 1 tower first. Do you feel like they come down bot to contest? I mean, you're going to Mizu's ultimate. In Your Dreams here too. You happy with the trade?
Yeah, but it's In Your Dream that's gone more of a farming build, right? Of course, they don't know that, but anytime you're coming up against this Lunar Blessing, you always need to be conscious of the fact that, yeah, this pushing happens pretty damn quickly. So, yeah, I feel like they just want to try and prioritize getting the early aggression coming out from Natsumi in particular, right? Armlet plus a Gloves of Haste just makes him really impactful in a lot of these early engagements. And, I mean, you might even be able to afford going into something like the Blink Dagger as opposed to a BKB as the first item, just because of what I mentioned before with the Shadow Demon just being able to use the Demonic Purge if you just BKB first. You don't want essentially 4,000 of your net worth to be wasted because you still just get kited out throughout that. If they go the Blink Dagger instead, maybe you jump in onto the backlines with the Ember Spirit and you're able to kill the Shadow Demon before he has an impact in team fights.
Invisibility.
Yeah, it definitely feels like if you just go for that earlier blink here from Wraith King, you've got heroes that are going to look to play with you super early on. which is a nice thing about the draft that Polaris have. Whereas regards to Dire, you're really lacking. It's going to come down to the net worth on Mizu. Like he's going for the Midas, just a stock standard build we really see from the Brew. Midas into Aghanims. He's had a really good start, but still you're going to be relying on the Nyx to make the plays, and also team fighting with the cooldown on the Primal Split. Whereas Radiant, all they need is the Blinks.
All they need is the Blinks. I mean, you can still play relatively consistently around Alacrity, but again, it needs to all be on him, and I'm sure that they're looking to wait for this Eul's Scepter before they make any kind of super aggressive move.
I don't know how much I like Yokam playing top. He's got Aghanims queued up, and it's going to be a really good Aghanims game because of how committal Radiant are. Tide's going to blink in, Wraith King's going to blink in. If you can just reset, find a stun, and turn from there, then it's going to be big issues. But I thought he was going to play a little bit more aggressive, so it looks like they're just off the back of, we're fine with this farm battle that's going on at the moment.
I think they just want to get him that first item towards the Aghanim Scepter super early on, because again, Lesh doesn't have the Eul's just yet. I think actually buying something different. Yeah, I was about to say he bought the Belt of Strength instead of the recipe for the Eul's. So maybe Yokam is just going to clear out this this siege creep, and then with his ultimate look to join as the roaming starts to happen.
Well, again, we see the supports from Nigma.SEA always finding their farm across the map. They quite often can convert with the net worth into kills, assists. Very good with their items. Force is going to try and run down Alacrity, however. Use of the Eul's Scepter is able to dodge, and now they've also got the Primal Split to kite the Tide Hunter. A power position from Nigma.SEA is they can turn to deal with Force, but he's got the Hood, the Kraken at level 3 as well, so not an easy task to go through, and now that's the ultimate wasted, and we might see the side of Polaris look to connect.
Didn't have to use the Ravage there. Mirana, no ultimate, and she had to TP all the way back to base, so maybe they look to go for some kind of engagement here. It's going to be without the Brew split, but Yokam, again, it's all about him finding the right target to be able to initiate this on.
Even in your dreams, Common.
Fantastic.
And if they look to start, the first stun's there, the secondary lacking, Lelouch. Able to get down to the south.
That's the comms, right? Like, if Alacrity's there to chain stun him, you probably kill that Ember Spirit and you can suddenly push into that tower. Sure, you'd be going into the Ravage, but it becomes a much easier engagement and team fight and objective to be able to claim after that. And of course, anytime that you're able to take away the mid tower, it opens up the Radiant jungle just that little bit more. And of course, Luna, Lesh, they love taking jungle camps. They want to make sure that they're able to quickly burst them down, move on to the next, quickly down, boost onto the next. It's all about that AoE flash farm fast clear.
Paulison might be in trouble. Force, does he have to drop the Ravage here for the Shadow Demon kills? Now Xavier's just gonna pay for the consequence, and now he doesn't have enough mana too. So a bit of an awkward fight for Polaris, as now they're more than likely going to give up the tier 1 mid.
Yeah, potentially. You've got Wraith King here on the sidelines. He obviously wants to dissuade that as much as possible.
The Nyx Assassin. Just Natsumi. I claim the bones of the Nyx. A nice little quick and easy kill as, back and forth we go here, trading the lives.
And they're just going to go straight on back into pushing into that tower. Mizu's still 20 seconds away from the ultimate. Doesn't want to join the team fight too readily. But at least with the Nyx Assassin, he was able to spend all of that unreliable gold previously to pick up the point booster. Still, though, that's not the ideal situation that you want for giving up the mid tower, when we always have to consider the Roche-taking potential that they've got. A Blightstone on the Wraith King is going into the Desolator. You've got the Tide Hunter for the Gush. There's a decent amount of damage and quick Roche-taking potential that you've got. Hell, even the Orb of Corrosion, actually, on the Ember Spirit.
And even that's just a little bit of extra net worth for the Lion too. Mavis has got some time down bottom, so about to be 1,600 gold towards the Blink, and this is going to be, if it can hit it, maybe 17 minutes in. We might see Polaris smoke around the Desolator, which is almost completed as well. So everything's looking good for the side of Radiant, but it's Dire that are wanting to make the first move. Smoked up as 3, Mizu. Still yet to have the second level in the Primal Split.
He wants to put himself onto the front line. Xavius might inadvertently end up breaking this as the Eul's Scepter.
Oh, nice.
Catch him out, but what the stun?
Let's go a couple more leaps. And Xavius is out. maybe. He's actually going to go back into the north. Lelouch is running into the Nyx Assassin along with the Lesh, but the arrow, thanks to the setup of the Ravage, enough to blow up the Lesh track, and now Yokam obliterated as well, thanks to Mavis swinging on over. It's all Polaris down to the bottom jungle as they find 3 for nothing.
Felt a little bit weird that they weren't playing around Mizu. You know, as soon as they had that smoke, Mizu was in the area but wasn't caught under the smoke. I kind of thought that they were going to position him in that mid lane. Worst case, he gets gone on with something like the Ravage because you don't have the Blink Dagger yet on the Lion. And you would have had the Shadow Demon there waiting in the smoke to be able to save him, and you still were able to get off that ultimate. But it just didn't end up going that way. You know, they go up onto the high ground where they have no vision. It's not near any kind of objectives. Sure, they placed down a couple of wards there, but they're probably going to get dewarded because they just used one of the sentries there to get rid of a Radiant Observer ward.
It definitely feels like Nigma.SEA are playing off the back of this Aghanim's timing on both the Nyx and Brew and maybe even BKBs. Are you in agreement that this is what they should be waiting for instead of maybe trying to find some small skirmishes early?
I think that play was fine if they just played more around the mid tower as opposed to the right-hand side, right?
Because that's... Mizu. Oh. Maybe it's going to look to start to set up for the arrow, but perfect positioning once again from Polison. It's enough to keep Mizu alive, and now with the rest of supports, I mean, they don't have the luxury of the remnant from Lelouch. Maybe it's a little bit more with the leaps, one more available, but the Leshak is able to swing on over and find his second kill.
Yeah, it's kind of the point that I always tend to talk about, right, is that you can smoke and you can get kills and that's great, but this early on into the game, it's not actually going to result in anything because, you know, you might need to use a big ultimate for it, and if you're not actually getting an objective like that mid tower, it feels like it's a little bit lacking because they just respawn in 30 seconds and they're able to come right back at you, which is exactly what Polaris did. So even that one, right, like you get a kill onto a Mirana, but it was 4 heroes on the bottom side of the map and you only got 1 kill and there's already no tower.
I mean, in your dream, he's farming real well, though.
Philosopher's Stone on Alacrity. He was able to pick that up. He's going to give it over to the Nyx. Completely understandable. Of course, the big strengths of that with the Spike Carapace AoE, but I mean, I feel like Mana Burn is very undervalued for what it's going to be able to provide.
Gonna look to reveal the blink up top. Poor old Nyx Assassin trying to find whatever farm he can. In fact, he's healthy enough to turn it back around. Yokam, a solo kill. It'll cost him his life, a little bit closer to the Aghanims, and honestly, he was 100% dead. So the fact that you get a kill there.
Worth it. I mean, he basically got nearly an entire level from that as well. A solo kill at this stage of a game for a position 4. You'll love in life.
I might look to jump Polison too.
Yeah, they want to get a pick off into Roche. They've just finished up that Desolator.
Now Polo's actually going to look to reveal his own blink. Jumps on Mavis. In Your Dreams, going to look to show up along with Alacrity. So a quick and easy pick off as Lion. It'll cost him his life, and now Nigma.SEA. This is a big window for them to at least de-ward around top because they're well aware that the next objective for Polaris is that Roshan.
They do have the slightly deeper ward up. It's a value one because you know that the Lesh and the Luna are going to be there a lot of the time. And obviously not a common spot to put down a sentry ward. Just out of range, actually, from the one that was there in front of the tier 2 tower.
I think they know because Polison saw him kind of posture down to the stairs when he jumped. So I wonder if he does still find that. He also hasn't gone Soul Catcher, which I feel is a little bit interesting versus the Tide.
I mean, 1 pointed is such value, right? I'm not a little like, oh, come on.
Ah, that's crazy. 20% versus the Tide? Love and life. Still, things are stalling out at the moment. I mean, Nigma.SEA continue to accumulate a bit of a lead. It's stalling until 2000. They're not falling too far behind, and they're hitting their Aghanim's timings as well. As Mizuru's found his, Yokam needs about 1,000 gold, and I think they've even picked up a gem. I think it was Dai that got the gem. Who got it? Come on. Yeah, it was. Polison found the gem. So it really looks like they're going to start to get a lot more map control now.
It's just such an enormous power spike, a lot of the items that Nigma.SEA are going for, right? Like,
Polo's going to jump. He's got Mavis and Natsumi hand in hand as he just obliterate Polaris. And now Nyx Assassin's even revealed his own positioning, and they are the pickoffs that they were waiting for to lead into Roche.
His courier is sitting up there as well. What's going on? Like, you are not getting any kills with those two heroes.
They lose the gem?
No, they didn't. Think so. He wasn't holding on to the gem. I mean, that is an incredibly odd play for mine, right? Like, you can rotate to be able to place that ward, but you don't blink up onto the high ground with no one there to back you up on a Shadow Dim.
And Radiant still have that deep observer ward, so they're going to scout out Nigma.SEA, getting ready to formulate a defense around the Roche area. Mizu popping the split. Force is going to jump behind them as his age is picked up from Lelouch. In your dreams, still got the BKB. He's going to solo down Force thanks to the ultimate. He does get the Ravage off, but it's a wasted one before the death. Lelouch is going to use the BKB to get out to safety, but Mizu, great use of the Primal Split.
And, well, even though they weren't able to claim the Roche, it is going to result in a mid-tower for them. Able to back up with the siege.
They got Polo to set up. It's a high-value target if they can get rid of Lelouch, but now, again, it's going to cost the Nyx Assassin his life. Just posturing a little bit too aggressively there from Yokam.
And surely they get this tower at least. I mean, it might get denied through by Xavier, so at least it opens up a little bit of that map control. But that's a couple of times now that Alacrity's missed.
Mizu might have to use his second use of the split here. They might even burst him down before he has an opportunity.
The
gem drop. Mizu gone. Polaris. Oh my.
Yeah, this is not what they want to be completely frank. I mean, it's a few very odd rotations that they've made, right? Like, I am very different from the Nigma Galaxy that we saw in games 1 and 2, that you couldn't really count out many big mistakes that they made. Two rotations that they made that weren't actually around an objective and were more going for kills, and just a couple of small little teamfight spells that weren't chaining together quite effectively with your Nyx stun or with the split earth there on Alacrity. So he has at least still finished up the Black King bar, but giving up the gem, certainly something that didn't need to happen. I think you can't afford to wait, though. Jokam, he's so close to picking up his Aghanim Scepter. I'm sure he's saying to In Your Dream, I know you're the core, bro, but please, one wave, that's all I ask.
Do you reckon he's going to get it?
He's going to get it. Come on. He's like, oh, how long can I wait?
Again, I gotta ask. I mean, Nigma.SEA with the Ag soon to be picked up from the Nyx, if they really missed their combined timing they were looking for with the BKB and the double Ags?
I don't know if they missed it, but they just had such a huge power spike relative to what Polaris had, because they were still a long way away from picking up that BKB on the Wraith King. They were still, a long way away from having anywhere close to getting the refresher on Force. And, he can pick up 1.5 components of it already.
Radiant. Smoked is 5. Natsumi has the level 18 as well. Is on the high ground. A perfect target to jump at Polison once again. He's going to be waiting the wings. The burst is there. An even better Ravage as well. It's going to enable them to blow up the Brewmaster. Now the rest of Nigma.SEA looking to try and get out of the area as best as possible off the back of the BKBs, but they're soon to expire. Polison charged down. Now up the high ground they go as Natsumi will lock onto the Luna. There's no escape for the position 1. There's no escape for the Bug as well. As Polaris, time after time, they're able to take these team fights perfectly.
Radiant are scanning.
Yeah, that one, again, it was just a little bit of a misplay from Nigma Galaxy. The Shadow Demon was in position. They had the chain locked down initially onto the Brewmaster, and he was there. He had the range to be able to get the disruption off, to be able to save him, but instead, maybe just wanting to trust his reflexes to be able to get it off after the Ravage was cast, but before the Ravage actually hit him on the Shadow Demon. He just wasn't able to do it on Polison. So you give up all of that teamfight control, you're able to consistently run at the Nyx Assassin, who had picked up the Aghanim Scepter and was burrowed in place, but yeah, they just killed one after the other.
And this is the thing about how stupid the Tide is. The Ravage AoE factor, where you just have another person jump in, you kind of force their hand to the defensive support to make the Shadow Demon reveal his positioning, and then Tide jumps over the top behind the hero you're going on and is able to clip the support. And it's like, how do you fight off the back of that? And we saw in game 2 that Polaris early on, because of the lack of net worth Lelouch had, they didn't have the burst and the jump to follow up the Ravage. But this game, it's completely different. You've got Wraith King with Blink, you've got Ember with Remnants, Lion can follow up as well if he's not already initiating, and Mirana too from afar. It's just Polaris have so many ways to burst 2 heroes down through this big Ravage, and Force is already going for a refresher.
Yeah, I mean, just have a look at the win probability. It was around that 18 or so minute mark that was that timing that they'd picked up, you know, the Aghanims on the Brewmaster and the BKB on the Leshrac. And just 2 really poorly executed team fights, it has to be said, on Nigma Galaxy has resulted in that huge upswing in gold, experience, and of course the win probability now with the Ember Spirit having picked up his own Aghanim Scepter. It just enables him to jump in onto the backlines, and he's already queued up the refresher. He knows exactly what his priority is in these next few engagements, just getting onto that Shadow Demon, preventing him from blinking in and impacting their chain lockdowns onto the likes of the Brew, the Lesh, the Luna.
So what is the ideal fight then from Nigma Galaxy.SEA? What do we, you know, the best picture, in the best world, how do they start the fights and what does a fight look like?
It's either, well, it's hard to do it when you're going up against the Aegis, but it's either just have the Leshrac on the front lines and have them commit a lot of spells onto you and then just save with the Shadow Demon, or kind of similar to what we just saw, but just have Shadow Demon save again. Like, it's very heavily on Paulson right now.
Okay. Well, Paulson at the
Expend all
moment...
the stun. Get away with not using BKBs, basically.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
He's got Blink, Keen Optic too. You're very close to the 8th one's completed, so Paulson is going to have something at least in the arsenal to do exactly what you're asking for, just to really completely nullify the initial jump from Polaris. So we just have to see if, you know, their positioning is really on point. And now, saying that, you've given the gem over to Polaris, and you have Moonlight Shadow as well, so it's really not going to be easy at all for Dire.
Oh, here we go. Another Moonlight Shadow. Jokam, he's playing around this right sort of area, but they actually just go a little bit to the north of him. In your dream, he's the one that gets
what are you doing there? Paulson's going to try and protect him, but he's still going to lose his life. Paulo would join him in the afterlife, and Polaris licking their lips. Weren't expecting the Luna.
Doing their best to try and, you know, do a little bit of that split push, but Anek's probably one of the worst heroes at doing so. I mean, again, I liked his positioning. He was just standing there, but they just went... It's one of those luck things, right? Maybe he could have been standing closer to the tree lines so that when the smoke pops, he can still somewhat get away. But, I mean, you can't really fault too much about that with In Your Dream. He was just in position to be able to react to any kind of smoke play, and it was just 2 ships passing in the night.
Dire's structures are fortified.
In Your Dream, he was free farming for quite some time this game. You know, top of the net worth, but that Tumi's really taking the throne at the moment. About to be 17,000, level 20, so he's got the cleave talent. You know, working on the Assault Cuirass as well, and my god, he's incredibly farmed. Mavis, he's found the jump too. Jokam might disrupt him a little bit. As he's around the area, is it going to be enough, in fact, just to keep Alacrity alive? The BKB committed. They find the kill on top of the line. So at least they're getting something before they're able to TP out. My god, it takes so much time to kill him through the burrow.
Well, that reduced 50% less damage. I mean, it's a lot to have to deal with on top of the Essence Ring. But at least they're getting something out of this, right? Sure, you pop the BKB on the Leshrac, but it also allows him to get to that level 20, so he's got the extra Pulse Nova damage. Some more stuff that's going to be able to go through this Tide Hunter. The question is, have you left it too late? Tide, with this creep wave, is going to have enough gold to finish up that refresher, and that's such a huge timing at this stage of the game.
I mean, we've seen what Force can do so far in the entire series with the Tide Hunter, and now he's got the refresher available. Have to keep tabs on potentially how Jokam's going to play with the Nyx Assassin. If he does only have level 2 in the mana burn, but he can be somewhat of a nuisance here. First the Tide, even the Wraith King as well, but I feel like more you're going to put the importance on getting rid of the mana on Tide.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
You'd be sweating a little bit for Nigma Galaxy, though. They want to get this and, you know, put themselves one step closer. They would only need to beat Lilgun after this to guarantee themselves a spot in that Division 1. So a lot to play for. Seeing some of those great neutral items start to come out as well. Paladin Sword for the Wraith King, just buffing up how survivable he already is, and did end up going that Blink Dagger eventually as well. So you've got multiple ways now as well to jump in onto the backlines, look to deal with them. If it's on a core, force out that BKB super early on. But if it's on a support, you just completely remove Paulson from the team fight and potentially even kill him.
7,000 net worth lead, about a 76% probability as well for Polaris. I mean, do see somewhat keeping up. I mean, Mizu, it's gonna take quite some time to get towards a refresher in your dream.
Edict from the tree on the bottom side here. Alacrity is just playing this annoying rat play once again.
Do what you gotta do to get farm across the map. They might finally come back down bottom. And yeah, that they will. So they are stalling this one out, but it still feels like Polaris, with the lineup they have, they're going to be really favored through a lot of these fights. It has to seem like Nigma Galaxy need to maybe kite one hero across the map, so Polaris take a disadvantage fight in regards to numbers, and then they can jump.
Yeah, but they've just been doing it with Ember Spirit every single time, so it's like, well, you could just immediately rejoin the fight with this Flame Remnant.
Cam?
What's the setup we've got here?
They're gonna fall off as well, but Force!
Oh, man!
Ravage onto 4, the second Ravage as well! They'll blow up the last strike. It's now gonna be all off the back of In Your Dream. They've got the initial stun on Lelouch, but where's the follow-up afterwards? There's no answer. Polaris overwhelming them throughout the team fight. They're gonna try and bring him down under the tier 2. They'll do so with ease. And now Mizu, the sole survivor, is doing whatever he can, but it's back up to daytime. No more split charges. In the end, a 5-man wipe as Polaris. Again, what a fight.
So this is why you first picked the Tidehunter for Force. Turns out he's pretty good on the hero, hitting another 4-man Ravage. What an amazing one. I mean, that's the way you counter BKBs. Just get on top of them before they have the reaction speed to be able to pop it. Meant that you couldn't set up on the Nyx Assassin either. Shadow Demon, he has the cast range with the Aether Lens and the Psychic Headband, but just wasn't there. Ooh, nice.
Carapace from Yokam. Doing some nice individual plays. He doesn't get the burrow out fast enough, which might cost him his life. It's Natsumi. 900 damage crit, gets rid of the Nyx Assassin. Back to the objectives they go. Or not. Howdy they go. They got Roshan. That is an objective.
It's just really good play coming out from Force, to be perfectly honest. You know, it gives you such an easy time on Natsumi is the big thing, right? Like, he's already got the Blink Dagger, so he can quickly look to join in a lot of these engagements. And we haven't really had that fight where In Your Dream can just sit there around a Nyx Assassin that's burrowed and just right-click. You know, pop the BKB, pop the Eclipse, and right-click. It hasn't happened a single time, and that's because Nigma Galaxy just seemed to get one of these heroes picked off at the start of all of these engagements. And, you know, some of it is the vision. I mean, just have a look while we sit in this pause at some of the Radiant vision that they've placed down, right? It's nice and deep. It provides some of these, the vision over some unorthodox areas at this stage of the game. And it just gives them complete understanding of what sort of areas they can look to rotate to. I mean, this one in the mid lane set up that Ravage, right? And it's not really an area that you would think to cover with a Sentry Ward at 31 minutes into the game.
Yeah, 100%. At this stage in the game, a ward like that on someone's kind of tier 1 higher ground, you wouldn't expect it all. And you see Nigma Galaxy with how they have to ward because they gave up this early gem. Like, look at the one by their kind of top jungle area. It's a ward you really don't see at all. And you put yourselves in a position to play like this when you give up that gem. And now you give up the Aegis as well. Lelouch, level 23, has the second life. They gave Natsumi the Ag Shard too.
Yep. Why not? You're going up against Mana Burn. Totally on board with that. I was kind of thinking maybe the Ember Spirit, just because obviously you've got the Refresher Orb as well. It just enables you so heavily to have the Fire Remnant Ag Shard just to continuously replenish these charges, because you're going to be killing a lot of people with how good Polaris are playing right now.
They're going to look to connect down bottom. Yokam run straight into the Ember and the Lion. And as soon as they see the heroes from Polaris, they're instantly looking to get away from the area. But Lelouch not going to give them some opportunities. Paulson, like, all right, I'll just run away from Mizu, make sure he can at least keep his life. My God. I mean, Lelouch. The Death Prophet game 1 was exceptional. I know they didn't win that game, but with how he was able to play it. Game 2, he had a horrible lane, horrible early game, but the impact we saw from him in the Void Spirit turned the tide, and now he's on one of his best heroes. I mean, it's the Mac Ember, 8, 0, and 10. He's got the Ace, got the Refresher. The man's on a mission to take this series.
Gold for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just have a look at Pollison's quick buy. You know, this isn't a pub. He's not raging. He's not just buying the Shadow Amulet and sitting in the trees. I actually quite like it, especially just the naked Shadow Amulet. But you got to get the gem back first, because the person that's going to be diving you is the Ember Spirit. And, you know, you can sit in the Invis all you want. He's still going to be able to kill you.
Yeah, you've been a big fan of these just naked Shadow Amulets, with especially the defensive supports and how you can position yourselves as Mizu. Oh, an early Aeon Disc forced out. Lelouch going to jump as well with the backline. They're going to try and target down the Shadow Demon. They haven't found him just yet, thanks to the defensive banishment, but now Lelouch afterwards, free pickings. He's lacking a little bit of the mana, but the quadruple remnant. Lelouch, well, it's plenty of damage. They'll get rid of the Nyx. Buyback's available, but it's still going to be cautious. Split Earth there, but he's out to safety.
They just had enough mana to get that last remnant away, obviously wanting to commit quite heavily there. And, well, at least, obviously, again, they're good at late-game Dota, especially around this high ground, and they're good at playing around their buybacks. They had to use the one there on the Shadow Demon, but the reaction to want to go into this Aghanim Shard on the Leshrac, of course, one of the best abilities at being able to stop that high ground push, or at least hinder it. Wanting to lay it down nice and early there as Alacrity.
Jesus, Lelouch is already 25.
Yeah, it's challenging, and he just went and bought his own Fire Remnant, because why not?
Yeah, backpack BKB, why not? 34 minutes in. This guy's chilling. Incredibly farmed. I mean, this has to be a methodical end here from Polaris. 18,000 lead, 4% probability for Dire. I mean, it just... We haven't really seen signs of life in regards to team fights. It's just been Polaris really overwhelming them.
Someone's been picked off at the start every single time, and unfortunately Pollison hasn't been in a position to save them. So it's like a multitude of things that are going wrong for them.
It definitely, they're playing off the back of Polaris mis-executing initiation and heavily committing into a higher gun where you've got Nyx burrowed, Luna standing her ground.
Oh, he nearly got arrowed there from super long range on the Shadow Demon. They're going to be very easily able to take this tier 3. It's kind of a rough position to be in, right? Because Lelouch, he wants to be able to play consistently forward with this Aegis, but he's out of Fire Remnant charges. He's also out of mana, so forced to go all the way back to base. So yeah, who's going to be the next one that gets caught out? I really only recall In Your Dream being one to leave the base in recent times, and he had to TP all the way back because it felt like they would have lost Rax if he didn't.
I like the early Ag shot pickup as well from Mavis. Like 36 minutes in. I don't know how early that is, but...
Oh, he had it a while ago. I want to say like at least 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Well, let's see how they can defend. So difficult going into the Nyx burrow. The Split Earth Aghanim Shard as well.
It's another Aghanim Scepter as well for the Mirana. So able to keep these waves pushed out.
Bounty.
Stalling this one out. 20,000 net worth lead. Polaris see how difficult it is to be able to siege the higher ground with ease. Having Aegis on Ember, not really a hero who is going to look to take the objectives, but more enabling him to jump the backline. So, I mean, it's about to expire in a couple seconds anyway, so definitely feels like Nigma.SEA, they've got time to breathe a little bit. I don't know how long they'll get.
Oh, yeah, and I'm just trying to think, like, what is the... I call it like a blue skies scenario, like the absolute ideal in all senses. And Alacrity, he might be getting caught out here, so no blue skies for him.
Okay, I was going to say, you're going to have to TP up pretty surely.
Yeah, he'll get out. So, yeah, what exactly are they waiting for? Mizu was going for the Refresher for the longest time, but he's switching that up. He's going into a Radiance on this Brewmaster, just trying to, you know, maybe cancel out some of the Flame Guard damage that's able to be done, maybe do a little bit more damage to the Tide Hunter, Wraith King, of course, just being able to right-click with all the damage he's got. He's even got a bottled DD rune. It's, you know, something that might force them to play a little bit more defensively, but it still kind of is the question of what exactly are you waiting for? You know, like, this is Polaris. They're much less likely to make a mistake than some of the other teams that Nigma Galaxy have come up against. You know, this is still Division 2 at the end of the day, and Polaris, they're playing like a Division 1 team.
But it's also the scary factor of Nigma Galaxy late game. This is somehow a team that claw themselves back when a game looks almost unwinnable. They're going to have to do the exact same thing in this game, but my oh my, you're down 20,000 gold. You got a DD on Natsumi for this fight if they do take it under the cover of the smoke.
So the Shadow Amulet has been purchased now by Paulison. He, not sure how good it's going to be. I'm going to keep my eyes on him and just see how much Lelouch is like, what? I'll just kill you. Why not? They've at least got the Skadi, so it gives you a little bit of that extra kiting potential, and they ended up using a smoke just to get in your dream
the jump. Nyx Assassin once again is going to be okay. Lelouch trying to target down with the Polaris and Shadow Demon. He's able to do so successfully, but he has compromised his own position. Refresher used out to safety. Mizu is going to try and at least control force at the moment. They've still got the second split afterwards. A buyback from Yokam, so round 2 here for the Knicks.
No BKB on the Lash, and no Shadow Demon to save, so needs to be very careful with his positioning here on Alacrity.
Yokam, does he get the bow fast enough? No, he doesn't. Force jumps in, Ravage onto 2, Mizu's in trouble. And is still available. Maybe they've overcommitted themselves here. They'll lose the life on the Wraith King. Lelouch is back into the middle of it all. And BKB, oh, the arrow finds a connection. Luna under the tier 4 towers is gone as Mavis is able to jump in, drop the finger, and get rid of the position 1. And now Polaris, they've cracked the high ground. It's going to cost them Mavis, but the Ravage is still in the arsenal. As Force swings on over onto 2. Natsumi standing his ground. They'll target through the left track. He does still fall to the AoE damage, but the price, oh, was ever so dear.
Oh boy, I mean, they're able to actually clean up the Wraith King at the end of it, which I'm a little bit surprised about. I mean, Alacrity, he's holding them in this game right now, and it still ended up costing him his own life. The amount of life steal that you're getting back on this Wraith King is
he even going to get the kill? No!
I mean, he's still playing with his Shadow Amulet around the Ember Spirit, and it's, sorry bro, it's not going to work.
Oh, Lelouch.
Every one of those kills as well. Again, he's got the shard right on Ember, so it just replenishes one of those charges. He can keep diving in further and further. Got up to 98% win probability. I'm on board with that. I'm in agreement.
Well, at least I don't even know if I can say at least. You're getting rid of all of Lucius mana. That'll push him back from the high ground. They've survived, at least to live another day. And, oh, geez, Ember's even gone Dagon. So, yeah, fun life here for the supports.
You just want to make sure you can get those kills, right? Refresh those remnant charges. Second Dagon with a refresher.
That's a lot of mana. Oh, he's got the Spell Prism. Dope. Love to see it.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
I mean, you see Polo. Is he remnant? Come on, Lelouch. Flex those muscles. See support across the map outside the base. You gotta jump.
I would have gone for it.
Roche is up and available. What, third Roche of the game? So we've got Aghanims, Cheese, and the Ages. Who do we want to give the Ags to?
Honestly, Wraith King.
Dope.
Like, why not, right? I mean, yeah, even if you're able to burst down a lot of these heroes, you're still going to be able to get off all of your ultimates, even just like the Ember Spirit, right? You can chuck a Fire Remnant down that you might not have been able to previously, and then even if you need to buy back, bam, instantly rejoin the fight.
I like this switch up as well. They've given Wraith King the Ages. Just, it was nice on the Ember previously through the first 2 Roches, but he's not going to be the one hitting the high ground. So just put Wraith King there.
And they've got next to 0, like, instant lockdown for the Ember Spirit, right? So he can just continue zipping around the fight, distracting entirely while Natsumi hits objectives.
That he's doing with no care in the world.
Yeah, Swift Blink, Solar Crest. Who cares?
Looks like they're just going to give up bottom. start to find some formation for the top lane defense. And Xavius just charging forward, maybe trying to hope to pop the Aeon Disc early from Mizu, but well, they'll force out at least an early primal split. Xavius is down to the low ground, and Mizu will get nothing out of it.
It's just about, you know, again, death by 1,000 cuts. Get rid of all those little resources. One primal split charge means that, you know, you're going to have some good effectiveness around those BKBs when you look to use them. And we see that first Dagon be finished up there for Ember Spirit. Wants to make sure that he doesn't get too antsy buying out, getting a little bit greedy for the damage, because he still does need to have that buyback at the end of the day.
Lelouch? Jesus. What dude doesn't give a damn? Jump in, why not? Such a high net worth lead. Almost blowing up the Nyx Assassin, but still, it'll compromise the Shadow Demon. Now they can look to bring down Yokan. Mizu with a second use of the split. Natsumi's fallen pretty low, but he does have multiple lives available. As now they're on top of In Your Dream. A BKB into the TP out. There'll be no cancel. But now it'll just enable Polaris to deal with the rest of the cause. Less Jack on the agenda. 100 seconds on the deck. Maybe Mizu next as well. They still got the Aeon Disc. Primal split on cooldown. And it should just be the tier 4s. And the game as Polaris will continue to remain undefeated here in Division 2. What a showing. What a comeback in Game 2. And what a series.
Still haven't had a single team fight where In Your Dream...
Why is he gonna do it to him? Like, you didn't ban the tie, you left it available, you didn't counterpick it, and force... I mean, he's penalizing them. Time after time, multi-hero Ravagers thrown exposed. In Your Dream exposes Natsumi jumping on 4. They've got him rid of the Luna, and Polaris have now finally secured it.
43k net worth lead, by the way, at the end of it all. But yeah, just give Polaris comfort and you will suffer. And that is absolutely what they did in both of their wins with the Tide Hunter, the Ember Spirit, and of course, can't undersell Natsumi's Phantom Lancer as well. So congratulations to Polaris. They remain the only undefeated team in Division 2. They moved to 6-0. With Nigma Galaxy being 5-1 at this stage, and it still does leave that option for the 3-way tiebreaker. So now, if Nigma Galaxy, they need to win against Lil Gun with their last game of the overall, I believe that might be the last game of the entire league. I might be wrong there.
Wait, Nigma versus Lil Gun, if you said that, yeah.
Yes. And then the other scenario that needs to happen for the 3-way tiebreaker is that Ragdoll need to beat Polaris, because then you would have 3 teams on 6-1. And I'm happy to see tiebreakers. I want to see more of this Dota happening and really make it a fight to the bitter end. Yeah,
I mean, it's been an exceptional run so far through Division 2. All the weeks we've had. We're now done and dusted with Week 5. We're not done and dusted for SEA action tonight. However, we got 2 Division 1 matches. Fnatic versus Execration will be starting shortly, still on BTS. The channel will go down for a brief moment. Stick around. We'll see you guys shortly for Division 1.